Welcome everyone to the first board meeting of the new school year. Thank you so much for being here. Today we will have the invocation done by Pastor James Book from Kissimmee Christian Church. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by John Boyd, who is our Director of Government Relations. Is he here? Yes. Okay, great. National Anthem will be performed by the students at Toho High School. And the mission statement will be read by Felicia Lewis, Business Partner Coordinator. We'll also have interpretation services from Marlenis Vargas Ortiz from the Multicultural Department. Before the mission statement, we will go ahead and have our invocation. Thank you.
No, that's okay. Let's all stand and ask God's blessing on our meeting and our schools. Father in heaven, I thank you for this privilege to be here, Lord, and thank you for the opportunity to come to you, the creator of our universe and sustainer of life. The fact that you would listen to us, Lord, says volumes about your love and passion for this community and for the children and parents. So, Lord, thank you for that. Lord, we cannot possibly govern effectively and manage effectively the number of schools and kids and families and events without divine intervention. So we come to you right now and ask for assistance and help and guidance, and humble us enough to know that we can't do it alone, but with you all things are possible. In the name of Jesus Christ, I pray this prayer. Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Of the brave.
Maybe seated team.
The mission statement of the School District of Osceola County, Florida, inspiring all learners to reach their highest potential as responsible, productive citizens.
Good evening, my name is Marlenis Vargas and I'm here to provide interpretation services. Muy buenas noches, mi nombre es Marlenis Vargas, estoy aquí para proveer traducción.
Thank you. And board, now is the time when we start the meeting by setting the correct expectations and going through our positive comments. Today I'll start with Dr. Shano.
Thank you. Board, I had the opportunity to visit 8 schools on the first day of school. 2 of those schools were with Member Cahoon. Just wanted to thank our students, our teachers, and our leaders in our schools for getting right into the business of learning. We only get 180 opportunities to have learning experiences on our campuses. And so to be able to go around to the schools and be able to see students engaged, teachers engaged, already working at high levels was really enjoyable to see. I look forward to getting around to the rest of our schools and visiting many more classes along the way. So just a great first day, first 2 days all the way around, and it's all because of everybody involved and everybody committed to the same cause and the same purpose. Thank you.
Board Member Melendez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I also want to recognize the superintendent as well. He's gone to many events from the St. Cloud Chamber to visual schools, but I think it's important that as a superintendent that you publicly interface with the public itself. So you've gone to many, private events as well. So to me, having a superintendent that wants to engage all stakeholders in the benefit of education says volumes about who you are. And especially you're new to Osceola to a certain degree. So then people get to know who you are, kind of kick the tires, so to speak, ask you questions. I think that's been phenomenal. But also, I have a thing for the arts as well, because the summer school, the kids go home for us, and we didn't have somebody singing the national anthem for us or doing a fine arts presentation. So I really love seeing that come back again. It really just lightens up the board meeting from the very beginning. And we have our very own Heather Calhoun out there doing the lip sync battle, representing, I guess the school district in a way. But she pumped us up so much that the table was like, wait a second, we got to do something as a school district later on. So I think we had a couple of folks there, Dr. Reyes, Dr. Evans, I think even Hedinger, right? She was going to go out there and get out there and represent, and for a good cause. The arts to me is about a holistic education, because we don't want to just be about reading, writing, and math only. You know what I mean? The arts, athletics, vocational programs. That's the whole student learning how to do teamwork, how to practice, get motivated to go to school. I think that cannot be diminished. And the fact that we have, the school district and Heather Calhoun herself going out there, raising money for the arts, increasing awareness of the arts is something that, I think this school district and school board really value. And we appreciate everyone for participating and supporting the arts just as much as we do the academics.
Thank you. Board Member Arguello.
Yeah, to tack on to Julius's remarks regarding the superintendent, I do also appreciate the fact that you've been doing the barnstorming throughout the county. You came to the event that I had. I think for many of the people that came to that event, it's unimaginable that the superintendent would come and hear that whole sector of the community that has been dying to speak to a superintendent, and you did so. So I really appreciate that. It showed a lot of courage, and nothing but high remarks from everyone that was there regarding your interaction with them. So that was really tremendous. Of course, we got to thank all of the people who have been working for 12 months and don't get the summer off necessarily to make all the things happen that are happening in our schools. And then I want to thank all of the teachers and paras who know what to expect when they're coming back to school, and they still come to school, especially you middle school teachers. You have a special place in my heart forever now. Not only was I a horrendous middle school student, but now I know what being a teacher is like, and I have tried to locate my middle school teachers to send them all letters of apology. But I just got to tell you how much I appreciate the work that you're doing now. And then I want to thank the parents for their unending patience in the process of getting our kids to school under very difficult circumstances. We have the worst traffic in the entire state of Florida, and I know that it's rough out there. It is terrible. Believe me, everyone here knows. Our former B-52 pilot knows exactly how, Arby Creech, the guy who manages transportation, he knows how hard it is out there. They're doing their best. So your continued patience is extremely appreciated. And then lastly, I have to say thank you. Thank you to one of the loves of my life, my daughter Emma, who graduated from USF this summer. I am so proud of you. You are the most wonderful daughter, tied with the other two. Of course. In the world, I love you, I love you, I love you. You are truly just a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful person in general. But the fact that you're my daughter, it just brings me so much joy and pride. I love you, I love you, I love you with all my life.
That's amazing. Congratulations to you and your family, Mr. Arguello. Board Member Kate?
Thank you. I just want to echo my fellow board members and superintendent in saying we are so happy that the first day of school is here and behind us. I had an exciting time at St. Cloud Elementary, Lakeview Elementary, and Denjon Middle School, former Dragon, so it was good to be back on my old stomping grounds for that one. So just thank you to those schools for having me out, and if I haven't been to your school yet, call me up, let me know, I'd love to come. I also want to give a shout out to our finance team because I saw a press release go out this week about outstanding financial reporting and transparency that they were awarded. And I'd have to say that attending the Florida School Boards Association's finance forum a few months ago, they said that school finance is the hardest finance that you will ever be witnessed or do. And so seeing that our team is on top of things, knowing that our team is there, really making sure that our dollars are accounted for and out there for the public to see is very appreciative on my part because I know it's a lot of work for you to do. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. And then also I love seeing our fine arts moment back and our national anthem being sung by our students. Maybe there's a way we can get something done during the summer because I do miss seeing it when it's not here. So thank you to our students that are here tonight for that.
Thank you, Vice Chair Booth.
Okay, I'm going to start off with just thanking my pastor, that's Pastor Jim Book, who preached today, or said the prayer. And we have a rotating schedule, and that's a volunteer thing that they come in to do. And I just wanted to publicly say that I do appreciate him coming and doing that, setting the tone for our meetings. Also, I'd like to say I was able to go to Harmony High School to welcome back their teachers and serve breakfast to them and hear about the goals that they have kicking off the brand new school year. Also, I put myself in a patient mode. The on-spot dermatology bus was on campus, so I was able to make a quick online appointment. I was in and out with a fast screening in 20 minutes and cleared to go, but I'm in the sun a lot, and so it's just important to do that preventative care, and we offer those opportunities just on the site of the school campuses, so take advantage of that if you can. Also, I'd like to echo Dr. Shanoff. You take a lot of time that nobody actually knows and speak with me about just preparing for our meetings, going through every question that I have. It's bi-weekly, weekly. We talk very often. I just appreciate your time one-on-one because I know you're a very busy person, but coming on board, we're so thrilled to have you here. And last but not least, I'd like to also thank Florida Education Commissioner Manny Diaz for coming to the Osceola County School District to kick off the first day of school in Kissimmee and just to see all the great things that are happening in the Osceola County schools. And I'd be remiss to say I have a senior and a 7th grader starting this school year, and we are so excited to have a schedule back at home for them. So it will be an exciting year and look forward to it. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. And I'll end us with my positive comment. So I was able to also attend some first day of school festivities with Dr. Allen. Thank you for hanging out with me. We went to KMS as well as Fort Ridge. We did lunch duty. Well, we just observed other people do lunch duty. We did not do lunch duty, but we did do the traffic between classes. That was very hard work. And we also participated in dismissal. I have to say, Dr. Shanoff and the entire team that is on the dais and not on the dais, I cannot tell you how impressed I was with the first day of school. Usually I have a lot of calls with a lot of things that are not working, and I had one. And that is a testament to everyone who worked really hard to make sure that our students were ready on day one and that parents had a seamless transition from summer to school. And I'm just really, really proud of this team, and I am so happy that everyone did such a great job. So congratulations, you deserve all the praise you're getting on the dais and off the dais. A lot of people are saying that you all did a great job. So thank you so much for putting in the work. It really means everything to Osceola. I also want to say thank you so much to the PTA at CK8. I was able to attend open house, and I did a little work miserably as well. I am not as good as they are, and doing some of the stuff that they did, but I had a great time meeting the families, the parents, and taking pictures for the kids. So just congratulations to everyone, rave reviews, and great way to kick off the new year. So with that, let's go ahead and move to the next section, which is our final arts moment. That will be with students from the OCSA. I'm quite excited to hear what they have to perform today.
Over hill, over dale, we will hit the dusty trail, and the caissons go rolling along. In and out, hear them shout, counter march and right about, and the caissons go rolling along. Then it's high, high, he in the field artillery. Shout out your numbers loud and strong, for wherever you go, you will always know that the caissons are rolling along. From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we will fight our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marines. Anchors away, my boys, anchors away. Farewell to college joys, we sail at break of day, 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 day. Through our last night on shore, drink to the foam, until we meet once more. Here's wishing you a happy voyage home. We're always ready for the call. We place our trust in Thee. Through surf and storm and air, what shall our purpose be? Semper Bratis is our guide, our fame and glory too. To fight, to save, to fight and die. Thy Coast Guard we are for you. Off we go into the world, moving onward, climbing high into the sun. Youth and comes to meet our further, and towards the gun. Down the dice, fighting the flame from under, off of one terrible course. We live in fame, over down in fame. Ain't nothing will stop the U.S. Air Force. Oh, say, can you see America?
sorry, I was supposed to wait for you to call me.
Oh, no, 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 no.
They were awesome. And then there's me. Every single time, every single time. Well, good evening, board members, leaders, Dr. Shanoff, and our guests this evening. Normally when I'm here as a recipient on behalf of our district of a donation by one of our partners in education. Tonight we're switching it up, and we are showing our appreciation to several of our partners of the year, district partners of the year. And I will be very brief, but I don't want that in any way to reflect on the amount of appreciation we have for them. And I'm going to ask them to just remain seated until the end, and then we'll do pictures. But first up is Jody Hartman of Kona Ice. When you see a Kona Ice truck on the roads anywhere in Osceola County, more than likely they're heading to one of our schools. Their generous Give Back program has helped fund student field trips, fine arts programs like what we just saw here tonight, travel fees for competitions, and many other areas that school budgets just simply don't cover. Their values align with those of our school PBIS programs, offering incentives for our students to help keep the learning going by consistently making good choices. So please give a round of applause to Jody Hartman. Next is the Lowe's Distribution Center. Steve Campbell and his team have taken partnership to another level. During COVID, they provided pallets of sanitizer and hands-free dispensers to keep everyone safe. They donated a truckload of barriers that were used to create a divider between the car rider area and the walker area at one of our schools to protect students. One of our schools, their staff returned at the end of last summer to discover that their refrigerator had died, and it only took a phone call for the team at Lowe's Distribution Center to replace it with a new model. So once again, they have a place to keep their lunch. And for the last 2 years, they have celebrated Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week by giving household gifts to the entire staff at one of our schools. And so please join me in congratulating Lowe's Distribution. The Papa John's Foundation couldn't be here this evening, but I wanted to mention them. Seth Yamamoto initially approached us to provide a no-frills fundraising opportunity for our schools, and along the way helped us be awarded a $10,000 grant so that one of our high schools could continue their youth leadership and entrepreneurship program. So again, thank you to them. And our final partner, and also this year's nominee for the 2023 Florida Department of Education Commissioner's Business Recognition Award, is the Kenneth Kirchman Foundation and Lake X Ranch. Here's an excerpt from the nomination that was submitted. The Kenneth Kirchman Foundation operates the pristine and untouched wetlands of the Lake X Ranch property in St. Cloud for the purpose of educating the public about Florida's unique ecology and wildlife. Our environmental education program has partnered with the foundation to provide 1,450 fifth grade students and 80 elementary teachers invaluable hands-on field study experiences at Lake X Ranch to reinforce their classroom learning and prepare them for the statewide science assessment for no cost. And so again, please allow me to congratulate and thank, and join me in thanking our friends from Kenneth Kirchman Foundation. So as you can see, partnership takes on many different forms here in Osceola County. Partners like these help us in our mission to inspire all learners to reach their highest potential as responsible, productive citizens. These are our district partners of the year for 2023. I'd like to invite them to come up and take pictures, and also Dr. Shanoff and Chairwoman Castillo, if you would please join us as well. I was gonna let them get in place.
I expect to see all of you at Lake X for our field trip. You can set that up, right?
Hunting trips.
Yep, no. No. Okay, this guy don't come.
More reasons than that.
Absolutely, yes.
Kona Ice folks,
Yes.
come on up.
Mark was supposed to be here. I know. Oh, nice. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Act like you like each other.
Yep, yep. Come on in, come on in. Pack it in tight, bumper to bumper, cheek to cheek. Never know who you're gonna meet. Come on in, grab a seat. Make sure the seat you grab is your own.
Thank you guys very much.
One last thing, inside the gift boxes, each of them has received a small award, and this is what it looks like when it's in.
All right, thank you so much to our partners for always being there for us. Appreciate that. Dr. Shanoff, you have some appointments and transfers?
We do. Thank you so much, Madam Chair. At this time, I'd like to ask Valerie Martinez to come forward. Valerie will be the new Executive Director for Multicultural Education. Valerie Martinez has held the following positions: teacher at Gateway High, ESOL Educational Specialist at Neptune Middle, Title III ESOL Resource Specialist for Math and Science, and District ESOL Education Specialist for Osceola School District, Senior Administrator and Director for the Multicultural Student Education Services Department for Orange County Public Schools, Coordinator for the Multicultural Curriculum Instruction and Compliance Department for the Osceola School District, Assistant Principal at Thacker Avenue Elementary School for International Studies, and Principal of Thacker Avenue Elementary School for International Studies. She received her bachelor's degree in molecular microbiology from the from the University of Central Florida. I don't know how you ended up in ESOL, but and a master's degree in educational leadership from National Louis University.
Motion to approve. I have a motion by Board Member Cahoon and a second by Board Member Arguello. Board, all those in favor? Aye. Congratulations.
Thank you. That sounded like a lot of things. First of all, thank you, board members, for this opportunity, Dr. Shanoff as well. I am thankful and beyond blessed to be here tonight accepting the honor of this position and for all of you believing in my leadership to continue guiding our multicultural department. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank these wonderful people in the second row, because there's a lot of them. My husband, who is also a teacher in Osceola County, has been absolutely my support system on this wonderful journey through being a school leader to being now at the district office. And my 3 babies who are with me every day with long hours as we are at a school. My mom, who never let me say I can't, because I can't is not in our vocabulary. Right, Mom? Never. I also want to say I have been in Osceola County since 1989. So I came here when I was 9 years old. And I began, that's why I ended up in ESOL, as an ESOL student at Ventura Elementary. And I actually have my 7th grade ESOL teacher here tonight. So I want to thank her, Ms. Dalia Medina, who is in the audience tonight as well, for believing in me and being a part of this journey as well. So thank you, everybody. and I am honored for this opportunity.
Thank you. The next appointment tonight is Henry Santiago for Director of Middle School Curriculum and Instruction. Henry Santiago has held the following positions: teacher at Pleasant Hill Elementary School, teacher and learning resource specialist at Celebration K-8, assistant principal at Westside K-8 and Parkway Middle, principal of Discovery Intermediate, and principal at Westside K-8. He received his bachelor's degree in elementary education from the University of Central Florida and a master's degree in educational leadership from Stetson University.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Board Member Arguello and a second by Vice Chair Booth. Board, all those in favor?
Aye. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Ms. Martinez had a little speech. I prepared just a little. Sorry. I didn't want to forget anybody. I want to first off thank the board and thank Dr. Shanoff and Ms. Henninger for this opportunity to serve in this capacity. I realized in reflecting that it wasn't anything that I did, but it was my support team throughout my career that have helped me get to where I'm at. So I want to thank Dr. Clayton for giving me my first teaching position and continuing to support and mentor me over the last 18 years. Sorry, I didn't mean to age you. I want to thank Dr. Greco, Dr. Fritz, who have encouraged me to become an administrator, Ms. Luciano for believing I could be an assistant principal, the great Nadia Winston for giving me my first shot as an assistant principal, Megan Gould for her guidance and for allowing me to grow as an administrator, Dr. Pace and Dr. Allen, thank you for your continuous support and belief in me, sir. I want to thank the great teams that I've been a part of, starting with my PHE family, my celebration team, my Parkway team, and to all the schools that I got the honor to serve as principal, Discover Intermediate, where I worked with some of the hardest working educators and APs, Deanna Hebler, Ashley Webb, and a person that's not only a colleague, but a friend that's always there, Mr. Gary Dunn. Was that good enough, Gary? Okay. Sorry, I'm closing up. To my Westside family, there will always be a special place in my heart. It's where I started as an assistant principal and where I made my way back as principal. I've never worked with such a dedicated team. To my admin team, Ms. Towers, Ms. Rodriguez, Ms. Confessor, who are here in the back, thank you for the support. They encouraged me to apply for this position along with many others, but I definitely appreciate and I'm so proud to work with all of you. To my colleagues and peers, I look forward to the opportunity to work with you in this capacity. I want to thank my parents who are also here for encouraging me and instilling core values of respect and integrity. I want to thank my siblings who always have my back. My friends and family that are constantly encouraging me, and they've been calling me a superintendent ever since I started as a teacher. Definitely appreciate them. To the boy, I'm so proud of you, and I hope I make you proud. And then to my beautiful wife, who has given me endless support throughout my career, and I'm so proud of you. I love you, Pepe. And thank you, board, and thank you. I look forward to serving in Osceola County in this capacity. Appreciate it.
The next appointment will be Stephen Dorego as coordinator for secondary, post-secondary, and career and technical education. Stephen Dorego has held the following positions: Dean of Students at St. Cloud High School, Dean of Students at Osceola High, Learning Resource Specialist at Osceola High, Assistant Principal at Poinciana High. He received his bachelor's degree in physical education and education from Keene State College and his master's degree in educational administration from Grand Canyon University.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Board Member Arguello and a second by Vice Chair Booth. Board, all those in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'll try not to make this like the Oscars, but I have a lot of people to thank as well. First of all, thank you, Dr. Shanoff and the leadership team for letting me interview and present my plan to you. Dr. Clayton, Dr. Ray, there's a lot of doctors, Dr. Evans, Dr. Allen, of course, Ms. Henninger over here, Christy Ray, and as well, my new boss, Senior Chief Tim Burdett. So thank you all for letting me have this opportunity. It's just amazing. I'm super excited to be a part of this new team. At this point, I'd like to take my wife and daughter to come to the podium. They told me not to do this, but this is who I am. I want to celebrate with my family. So Elizabeth, and she's a third grade student at Summer Lake Elementary, and my beautiful wife Jennifer, who's a gifted teacher at Summer Lake. She did a lot of years in Osceola as well. All right, so in a nutshell, here we go. Linda Harwood, 2001, she hired me at Highlands Elementary. Thank you, Linda. She's retired. I worked my way through elementary for a few years. Virginia Ramey gave me the dean's position at St. Cloud High School, so thank you, Virginia. I moved on over to Osceola High School after that, and it was Mr. Edward Jones, retired principal. Thank you, Mr. Jones. And then the biggest thank you goes to Michael Meachin. I learned so much from him. I call him the Jedi Master of Education. And under his tutelage, I learned how to do systems and how to be a great leader. And then, of course, Jeff Schwartz came over, and he does an amazing job at Point Siena. And I have so many people to thank at Point Siena. If I miss anybody, I apologize. But really quickly, our principal secretary, Miss Medina, she's amazing. I'm sure a lot of you have met her. My secretary, Miss Hernandez, my deans, my CTE teachers that got me to this. We broke 510 certifications this past year. I'm super proud of that. And then all the paras, the whole staff, everybody over there, and of course, Sagal Martinez, the Osceola Business Academy director. He's an amazing individual as well. Thank you to the whole team. I'm going to miss you, Point Siena. I'm still going to be there on occasion because I'm going to work with all the high schools and the technical schools, and I'm super excited. So thank you, everybody, for this amazing opportunity. And Mr. Burdett, let's get ready to get some certs with our kids because they deserve it, and it's going to be a wonderful time. So thank you.
All right, the next appointment tonight will be Jamie Hopkins as Assistant Principal at Narcoossee Middle School. Jamie Hopkins has held the following positions: Teacher for Orange County Public Schools, Teacher at Highlands Elementary and Eastlake Elementary, Literacy Coach and Dean of Students at Eastlake Elementary, and MTSS Coach, Dean of Students at Narcoossee Middle. She received her bachelor's degree in elementary education from the University of Central Florida and a master's degree in educational leadership from the American College of Education.
So moved.
Have a motion by Board Member Melendez and a second by Board Member Arguello. Board, all those in favor? Aye. Congrats.
Thank you. Dr. Shanoff, thank you for this opportunity. I'd like to thank the board members and the district leadership team for believing in me. I'd like to thank the administration team at Narcoossee Middle School, Dr. Rivera and Ms. Schneider, for this opportunity. It was hard to leave Eastlake a few months back, but I love the people at Eastlake, and Narcoossee welcomed me in, and I appreciate that. My dean team over at Narcoossee Middle School, they welcomed me with open arms. They showed me so much about going to the middle school life. My mentor through this whole journey is Mr. Will Hennessy. He's been there by my side. He's supported me all along the way. And of course, my family, friends, and especially my husband and one of my two children who are here. My other one is working tonight. Thank you for this opportunity, and I look forward to it.
Next appointment will be Kyle Clark as Assistant Principal at Harmony Middle School. Kyle Clark has held the following positions: Teacher at Kissimmee Middle, Teacher at Neptune Middle, Dean of Students at St. Cloud Middle, MTSS Coach and Dean at Narcoossee Middle, and MTSS Coach at St. Cloud Middle. He received his bachelor's degree in criminology pre-law from Indiana University of Pennsylvania and a master's degree in educational leadership from the American College of Education.
So moved. Second. Have a motion by Vice Chair Booth and a second by Board Member Cahoon. Board, all those in favor? Aye. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Shanoff. Thank you, Board. I'd like to start off by thanking my family, my daughter, Peyton, and my wife back there, Tammy. Thank you for offering me the support and giving me the subtle and sometimes not so subtle words of encouragement to continue my pursuit towards this role. I'd like to thank a few recent principals that I've had the pleasure of working with, Cindy Shavini, Gary Whedon, And of course, Christina Harrell, the current principal of St. Cloud Middle School. Mrs. Harrell, along with her two assistant principals, Dr. Berta and Mrs. Roush, have shown me such patience, so much guidance, and so much support over the years. I will be forever grateful for having them as mentors. And finally, to all the leaders up here, to Mr. Telemko, Mr. DeWright, thank you for giving me this opportunity to begin another chapter in my educational career. I'm deeply thankful for the trust and confidence you all have. I understand this is an incredible opportunity, and as I step into this role, I am committed to upholding the values and high standards that define Harmony Middle School. Thank you.
You can breathe now.
All right, and then 3.06 is just informational. It is two transfers. Eugenio Rolando, currently principal at Kissimmee Middle, will be the principal at Backer Avenue Elementary School for International Studies, and Connor Gilbert, currently principal at Celebration High, will be the administrator on assignment for school improvement.
Thank you for that. I don't think we don't need to. However, I do protest to Dr. Rolando leaving. It's fine. I'll talk to her about that later. Okay, folks, thank you for coming to see, your folks get appointed. I know a lot of you want to stay, so please do. But if by any chance you were planning on leaving after the celebration, this would be a great time to do so. Not all of you at once. Oh my gosh! Oh, absolutely. No, I love that. Love it. All right, and the lighter room, Dr. Shada, do you want to go ahead with your update?
Yeah, I'll wait.
I should have updated before. I know.
Man, there's a lot going on out there. I love that.
Okay. All right, item 4.01, just want to provide the board an update on something that has made a lot of news recently regarding AP psychology. So the district has offered advanced placement psychology in many of our high schools as an opportunity for students to receive college credit in the area of psychology. The Florida Department of Education and College Board have been going back and forth a little bit regarding the appropriateness of some of the content within the AP Psychology course. College Board came out with a statement recommending that Florida families and students, they recommend that they not take advanced placement psychology. After that statement, Dr. Evans, Dr. Clayton, and I started working on a provisional plan to ensure that students would still receive college credit and be able to take a college level course that is in the area of psychology. Furthermore, we wanted to ensure that teachers of those students would still have the opportunity to teach a college level psychology course. The University of Cambridge offers an advanced course, college credit bearing course with the same weighting as AP Psychology. Cambridge has worked with school districts across Florida and across the nation. And specifically, they've worked with us just recently, given the immediacy of the move to the Cambridge psychology course. So where we stand now is that we do have the materials online. We will be exposing our teachers to additional training relative to Cambridge psychology. So they will receive the same training that every other teacher receives. And obviously, there is a very condensed timeline. Cambridge has assured us that there is more than enough time for us to be able to cover the content within the course, even after teachers do receive their training. So they have already kind of started down this pathway of utilizing the Cambridge materials. The Cambridge course is in the Florida Course Code Directory. I'm fairly confident that our students and our teachers will rise to the challenge given the disruption, and our students will have a successful year in a college-level psychology course. This does not impact the schools that have IB psychology. Those schools that have IB psychology will continue with IB psychology. That is also an approved psychology course within the Florida Course Directory.
Thank you. I have 2 board members with comments. I'll start with Board Member Melendez and then Board Member Arguello.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to appreciate the superintendent and staff because the guidance from the state has kind of been going back and forth. It's nice to know that we're taking a proactive approach because we have to worry about master scheduling and getting everything online. With that said, I know it's not on the agenda, but I wanted it to go out there in the public. If you can also update us, Mr. Superintendent, on the financial literacy, because I understand the same thing too. The Department of Education has required financial literacy this year, but hasn't given us any guidance. And I've heard it myself, but I just want the rest of the board to kind of be updated on what's the latest on those standards and how we're going to do that.
So typically, you can, go ahead.
Essentially, what we're going to do at this point, so that we can ensure that we can receive proper guidance and have opportunity to vet the materials, although it's within our schools for the cohort year of 9th graders moving forward, we will begin offering it for our schools in January after we've had an opportunity to vet materials that are in accordance with the state.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you, Mr. Melendez. Mr. Arguello?
Yeah, it goes without saying that this program passed any test of the law, right, Frank? Yes. And obviously, Commissioner Manny Diaz, he already voiced support of the program, right, or of these actions. So I think that that's great. It really demonstrates agility and speed and proactivity. This is one of the reasons I think that you got this job, was that you really demonstrated that something like this can come down the pipe, be completely out of left field, and that you would get on base with it, and you really did. So I thought this was a great idea.
Thank you. And this does not require our approval, correct? Okay. Anything
No, ma'am,
else?
sorry, I need to make sure that I actually vocalize that. So, no, ma'am.
Thank you. Is there anything else under the updates?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. We're going to go ahead and recess our regularly scheduled meeting for the public hearing. Before that, Mr. Boyd, we do have a comment under this seat. So I will, before you come up, I will invite Daniel Soto. And Mr. Boyd, are we speaking on the cell phone policy in this?
Not the cell phone policy that we put in the schools. There is a language related to cell phones that overlap that was in statute.
Okay. I just have some students have made me speaking on that, so I didn't know if they wanted to speak on it now or later. Let me know what y'all want to do.
I'm flexible.
Yeah. Okay, we'll start with Daniel and then we'll see what happens.
Good evening, ma'am. Just to let you know, this is also on the phone policy, is that right? All right, thank you, ma'am.
Absolutely.
Good evening, Superintendent and school board members, as well as all other members present. My name is Yadiel Soto. I am attending Tohoku-Kalaiga High School as a 12th grader for the 2023-2024 school year. I thank you for the time you are giving me to speak on House Bill 379. It is within the reasons of students attending Osceola School District schools to believe that HB 379 is not constitutional. However, on behalf of the students attending Osceola School District schools, would like a ratification, not to the bill, but to the district's terms or interpretations of it instead. It is stated by some students attending Osceola School District schools that, quote, it's unfair that students are not allowed to use their phones during leisurely or lunch hours, end quote. In my respective opinion, among others, I agree with this statement. Students should be able to use their cellular devices during lunchtime. There is no evidence that can be provided that states cellular devices may not be accessed during lunchtime within House Bill 379 nor the Student Code of Conduct. Yet the Osceola School District saw fit to do so. It states in the Student Code of Conduct, page 19, under the section Cellular Communication Devices, bullet point 2, that, quote, lunch is considered school hours, end quote. However, within the bill itself, it only states that cellular devices may not be accessed during, quote, instructional hours, end quote. As shown in revision House Bill 379 ER, published May 3rd, within section 4, paragraph F. Logically speaking, I believe you can understand that these do not correlate. Understanding that within a job or career, when you are on your break, you have paused working for that period. Within this case, we have paused our learning efforts to enjoy our break. There is no instruction being given during this time, although for block schedules there will be, of course, instruction after the period. Acknowledging this, having a standard operating procedure that allows a compromise for both parties, being the staff and students, having the students go into class and take their attendance, if they go to lunch first, allowing the students to grab their cell phones, and taking them to lunch. Once lunch is over, have them place their cellular devices within their bags in accordance with House Bill 379. If they are held for the second block for lunch, have them follow the procedure stated within the bill and what we have been following. Once the instruction is over and students are ready to transition, have them take their bags with them for lunch and allow them to have their phones until the end of lunch, which then all students will continue in abidance by House Bill 379. In summary, the students attending Osceola School District schools believe it is within our right and our reason that we should have our cell phones during lunchtime, following a procedure that can be created to regulate this to ensure it runs smoothly. It is much appreciated that you consider these words with importance, as they are not solely mine, but the students of our entire community. Thank you for your time.
We have students from other schools that this will be a great time for you to come up if you'd like to, since this is pertaining to you. If you haven't spoken here before, do not give your address, and please keep mind of the timer as well. Mr. Melendez, I know you wanted to comment, but we call that we do not make comments when the public is speaking.
Yeah, I can wait till you.
Okay. I will start with Jake.
Good evening. That is the definition of a tough act to follow. So, good evening, members of the board and Dr. Shanoff. First, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Jake Chisholm. I'm a senior attending St. Cloud High School. I'm the president of the senior class and the vice president of the Student Government Association. Beyond those, I'm a member of Student Voice, which is a school district-supported club tasked with working alongside our school administration to change policy that supports a positive campus environment. All this to say, I have the privilege of representing a large amount of students and organizations in my being here tonight. I'm here to speak about the district's new cell phone policy that effectively bans phones during the school day, including lunch. Members of the board, in 12 months, I'll be moving away for college. I'm a young adult. I'm a school leader, and I'm an employee. Yet I'm not trusted under the new cell phone policy to use my phone during lunch, communicate with my family, or listen to music. Dr. Shanoff, last meeting you pointed to safety as a driving motivator for the district's cell phone policy, but by making school administrators police young adults on their phones during non-instructional part of the day, we run the risk of admins being too preoccupied to stop real dangers, like the growing vaping epidemic, which I would argue poses a far greater risk to our students' health and education than them being on their phones during lunch. Board member Arguello, is that right? Okay, perfect, sorry. Last meeting you asked for the district to remain flexible in this new policy, especially as you heard back from the community. Well, the community's here, community's speaking up, and as you've heard, or as you're going to hear tonight, I hope that you put a little bit of freedom back in the hands of students during lunch, and thank you.
Thank you so much. The next person that I have is Savannah.
Good evening. My name is Savannah Morris, and I'm a senior at St. Cloud High School. I am the president of Student Government Association and the vice president of the senior class, the opposite of Jake. And as you probably know by now, the reason numerous people of the St. Cloud High School and Harmony High School student governments are here is because of the new student cell phone policy. While we know the reasoning for this policy is due to the State of Florida House Bill 379, we also know that not being able to use our phones during lunch and passing periods is not part of this law. Scrolling through my phone at lunch has never affected my academic performance in any way. I came here today to speak on behalf of the thousands of students who are opposed to this policy for multiple reasons. For example, upon the release of the change to the St. Cloud High School Instagram page, students and parents flooded the comments, the total being 642 comments under one post. Some examples of students' reactions include, quote, "Lunch is crazy. That's supposed to be our mental break. This became a prison." End quote. Quote, "See, this is why students are unhappy in school, treating us like prisoners." End quote. To conclude, one thing I think everyone can agree on is that we want what's best for the students. And I think the best thing for our students would be focusing on bigger problems such as vaping in school rather than scrolling through Instagram at lunch. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Olivia?
Hello, my name is Olivia Morris, and I'm currently a junior at St. Cloud High School. I'm the president of the class of 2025, and I'm here today with some of my fellow classmates concerning the newly implemented district phone policy. While we together as a whole understand and agree that cell phone usage should be limited during academic time in a learning environment, such as classrooms, we disagree with them not being allowed during a student's lunchtime. It is understood by many that cell phones are an extremely common distraction in a learning environment, such as a classroom. However, students' lunchtime is commonly not instructional. Some students use their lunchtime to socialize with their friends, while others use it as mental time to use their phone, whether it is simply playing a game, listening to music, or texting their friends or family. There are also other things to consider, especially lunchtime being one of the only times a student can socialize with their friends. High schoolers especially have an extreme number of responsibilities outside of school, whether it be jobs or an extracurricular activity or sports. All this said, the choice to have access to their device should not be taken away from them. Some students use their lunch period as a time to relax and escape the stress of their classes, but taking away that ability to use their cell phone during this time creates a sense of misery. It makes them think that we as a school or as a school district don't care about or respect their time or their wants. My main point, and as I previously stated, we agree that cell phone usage should not be restricted in the classroom. Should be restricted in the classroom. However, we hope to come to a mutual agreement that students should be allowed to have access to them during their lunchtime. Thank you for your time.
Avery?
Good evening, members of the board and Dr. Shanoff. My name is Avery Thomas, and I'm a senior at St. Cloud High School. I am the head of public relations for the class of 2024 and the Student Government Association. Apart from student government, I am the vice president of FCCLA, a leadership organization focused on bettering the community. In my many years with FCCLA, I've used the power of social media during school hours to organize a school-wide toy drive that raised over 500 toys for underserved foster care children. I am here today with a broad group of student government members to speak about this new cell phone policy. While we can recognize the importance of a cell phone rule in the context of a classroom, this district has overstepped state law by restricting students' phones during lunch. Students use their 30 minutes of lunchtime as a necessary break in their busy schedules to listen to music, communicate with their families, and in my case, use social media to organize events for their student organizations. Going back to communicating with families, if the district restricts me from talking to my mom at all hours of the day, then under district policy, I would have to be taken from instructional time and connected with my mom via a school phone, a solution that would only take me further away from my schoolwork. I hope that this district is flexible enough in working alongside the community to changes for during lunch.
Thank you. And last we have Maria.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Maria Torres, and I am a senior at Harmony High School, and I'm a school students body vice president. I'm here to comment on the district's recent cell phone policy. The Florida House Bill 379 states a student may not use a wireless communication device during instructional time, which has always been the norm and should be enforced accordingly. However, Osceola County has decided to extend this to non-instructional hours such as transition time and are already limited 30-minute lunches. Prohibition of cell phone usage during student breaks is not codified in the state law and frankly an unreasonable demand. We live in an increasingly technological world, whether we like to admit it or not. We need our cell phones in college, for our jobs, internships, etc. This policy is not preparing us for the real world. I use my phone to keep track of my assignments, communicate with my parents, clubs, coaches, teachers, etc., countless of activities that relate to my schooling. Phones are aids, not weapons for academic journeys. There are ways to comply with HB 397 that embrace this ideal. For example, Polk County's policy states, quote, at the discretion of the principal, students may use wireless communication devices before and after school, during their lunch break, in between classes, as long as they do not create a distraction, disruption, or otherwise interfere with the educational environment during after-school activities, end quote. We believe this to be a fair rule, and hope Osceola County considers enforcing a similar policy. If you expect us to behave like adults, please treat us as such. Please treat us with the respect and dignity we deserve as students, so it can be reciprocated to our hardworking teachers and administration. Thank you for your time.
Board, I will have, since this is a hearing, I'm going to go ahead and have Mr. Boyd do his thing, and then we will have comments afterwards. And we will start with Mr. Melendez.
Alrighty. Good evening, board. I'm bringing to you 5 rules with revisions proposed that were in the workshop that you've already seen, as well as the changes in the student progression plan. Rule 2.95 Wellness Program deletes paragraph 3J, adds paragraph 5A5 through 8 to permit flexibility for school fundraisers pursuant to federal regulations. Rule 4.22 Education Media Material Selection adds paragraph 6L to comply with State Board of Education Rule 6A-7.0714, Library and Instructional Materials Objection Report, Florida Administrative Code. Rule 5.141, School Choice, adds paragraph 2E to authorize the school district to establish procedures for the purpose of the revocation of choice assignments in accordance with state law. 8.43, Competitive Sales and Fundraising Regulations, adds paragraph 3 to permit flexibility for school fundraisers pursuant to federal regulations. Rule 8.63, Student Use of Personal Technology, revises paragraph 1B and C to limit students to cell phone and smartphones for connecting to the school district's wireless guest network, since the school district provides each student with a digital device. It revises paragraph 1C to permit students to use other electronic devices for documented medical purposes to connect to the school district's wireless guest network. Any procedures related to this rule are separate to the rule before you tonight. Student Progression Plan, page 1, revises the title page to reflect the new school year, updates the revision date on the title page to reflect the effective date. On page 3, revises contributors page to include new school board members and administrators. Page 33, updates lesson plan section to reflect changes within State Board of Education Rule 6A-5.065, the Educator Accomplished Practices Florida Administrative Code. Pages 37 through 40, updates required instruction section to reflect changes within section 1003.42 required instruction Florida statutes. For example, the history of Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. And lastly, page 111 revises participation in graduation ceremony section to comply with section 1003.4282, requirements for a standard high school diploma, Florida statutes, and to provide eligible students who attend summer programs and who complete graduation requirements an opportunity to participate in summer graduation ceremonies. So we bring these to you tonight asking for action after your discussion.
There is action. Thank you. Okay, we'll start with Mr. Melendez's question or comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I actually want to comment on two different items, but I'll talk to the student use of personal technology first. First of all, students, excellent job. I mean, you guys came in here prepared. I mean, adults coming here nervous to speak on the podium. The fact that you guys came here, did your research, cited statutes and laws and everything like that, just, that's democracy in action. And so, I'm just kind of thinking out loud because I'm thinking, do I want to seek the advice of the superintendent or do I want to have my own voice? And at this point, I'm thinking, because I have a son that goes to school as well, and I'm thinking, what damage does the lunch period have? So I guess, I guess I can ask you that question because, what are the potential negative effects that you see, Mr. Superintendent, of a cell phone use being used during lunch period?
So I can tell you that just in our research with talking with principals, there are fights that are planned for lunchtime via use of cell phones. There is students that will attempt to attend 2 lunches so then they can go ahead and use their phones. There is a tremendous amount of concern that if you go ahead and you open it up for lunch, that where does it end? Does it end at, do you then allow it on class changes? Because here's another concern that I have. We're all very concerned about safety, but if students are plugged into their earphones in the midst of a school-wide emergency and they don't move fast enough, that becomes problematic. So I understand and I appreciate the student concerns. I understand that change is hard. Change is very difficult. But at the same time, we have an obligation to ensure that the learning environment is free of distraction. Students can socialize during lunch, the same way that you and I socialize during lunch. We have to support our teachers and our principals that are attempting to go ahead and create the safest possible learning environment conducive to learning. That is the feedback that I've received thus far from teachers. That's the feedback I've received thus far from our principals, including a teacher at St. Cloud High School that reached out to me thanking me for the first 2 days of school and all the changes that we have put in that help raise engagement.
Thank you. Is that all of your comments?
Yeah, because I have a comment in another section. Do you want to discuss this first and then I can bring up
I
later
do,
on
but
another?
to be clear, what we're approving isn't the school policy today. It is just a statute that we're embedding.
It's the statute, and this is the school board rule, it is policy, but it's not the procedures at the school.
Can I go ahead and also address one other thing?
Yes.
So House Bill 379 addresses the use of cell phones during instructional time. Board Policy 8.63 and the Student Code of Conduct for 23-24 that was approved by this board speaks to the prohibition of cell phone usage bell to bell.
Thank you.
And so this is modifying the current school board policy, then, correct?
The changes that I brought to you modifies the current rule.
Correct.
The procedures are not
So
part
if
of
we
this
wanted to
revision.
modify that, this is the opportunity to do that. If we wanted to insert language to allow cell phone use during lunch period only, is this an opportunity to insert that language in and out? I mean, obviously, a board consensus.
You, as a board member, have that opportunity.
Correct. So I'm interested to hear what the other board members say before I motion to insert that language.
Okay, thank you. I will move on to Mr. Arguello and then other board members if you have anything to say as well. Mr. Arguello, you're recognized.
Thank you. So, one, phenomenal job, all of you. You guys should be proud of yourselves. Your parents should be proud. Your schools should be proud. What an effective way to deliver a rebuttal to a policy that you guys don't like, right? As Melinda's mentioned, even adults sometimes don't even do it or cannot do it. So, great job. So, here's the thing. In life, you're going to be on the losing end of many battles, right? This may be one of them. So, I wanted to take the opportunity to tell you the following. Number one, this is a great lesson in don't put your destiny in someone else's hands, because you'll get a result that you usually don't like, right? And in general, the behavior, the impact of telephones on our campuses has been havoc and disaster. And because of that, this is happening, right? For a long time, there has or has not been a policy for lunch, et cetera. You guys can argue whether the policies have been effective or not. But in the end, at the end of the day, having telephones on campuses have been a disaster for your education. It kind of falls under the rule of mess around and find out, right? Well, teenagers in general, our students in general, have messed around with their cell phone policy, and now they're finding out, right? But don't give up, okay? This is another lesson, lesson 2. Don't give up just because you don't like the result that you're getting now, and this is for life in general. Don't give up on your fight to change the policy in a way, right, that would favor you or favor what you want. Continue to capture information. Continue to organize students. Continue to make sure that you're observing the impact. Continue to get buy-in from other people, right? Continue. You don't always win the first time, right? Sometimes you got to come back over and over and over again. Because you can always get like a policy exception, right? I mean, this whole lunch thing or whatever is, it's a policy exception is what you guys would be asking for. And I think that I heard one when you're talking about the activity that you were mentioning in regards to raising money for toys or whatever, right? That would be a policy exception that I think would be viable because you're getting a teacher, right? You have the permission of a teacher to use your phone for that purpose, maybe earmuffs, I guess, Dr. Shanoff, right? So you might have found an exception to the rule that we haven't considered, right? And that would be the job of somebody who's not going to give up. They're going to find all those loopholes. They're going to figure it out. But use them for the good of your cause. Don't use them to destroy your credibility, okay? Lastly, I think someone was talking about being prepared for adulthood. One of the problems with adulthood, okay, is that you don't want to create the environment that we see on our campuses. For example, everybody running towards a fight, recording that, right? That's not what we want in adulthood. That also does not prepare you for adulthood. And adults wouldn't normally do that. There's liability in that as well for them, right? So we are preparing you for adulthood by severing the cord between you and your telephone for a certain amount of time is to your benefit in the end. That may seem like old curmudgeon type of talk, right? But in the end, if it had not been, we wouldn't be here today. If it wasn't an issue, we wouldn't be discussing it, right? And then lastly, this is really an issue of, do you support a student movement to make an exception, or do you support a brand new superintendent? And I'm just kind of giving you guys insight into the mind of a policymaker on this issue, just because I've seen it firsthand how destructive telephone is to the environment in an education world. I'm going to err on the side of the superintendent, right? Allow him to be proven wrong. If you guys continue to observe and do whatever, give him the policy. If he's wrong, right? In the end, I'll probably be the first person and the only person who mentions it. But I don't think that he's wrong about this. I think that he's right. And you guys will suffer the benefit, so to speak. And I say that intentionally. You guys may be suffering, but you will receive the benefit from this policy. So I would love to give you what you want. I think that people deserve to get what they want when they do the right thing, especially as well as you guys have done it today. I just don't think that this is the situation. You may not be understanding what you're asking for, in my opinion. So great job, tremendous, very impressive. I wish I could give you the answer that you were on it.
Thank you, Mr. Melendez. I see that you're up, but I do want to speak.
Yeah.
Yes, commendable job, everyone who spoke today. I thought that you were well prepared, eloquent, respectful, which is my favorite thing, and definitely gave me something to think about. However, I do agree with Mr. Arguello that our initial assessment was correct in this case. but mostly because I'm not a big fan of changing policy before it's really fully implemented. So I do think that this year, or at least this semester, is a great barometer for us to see what has changed, whether it's in a positive way or a negative way, and based on that, then make additional decisions. But I don't think that we need to change this policy at this moment. Although, the point about working for the club, that is something that we might want to consider, just because she is, yeah.
So can I go ahead and address that?
So, yeah.
That would be under the direction of a teacher.
Okay.
And that would be an approval that they would have under the, I would think that would be an approval because it's academic in nature despite it being extracurricular. However, it is under the supervision of a teacher.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm fine with it. I think that.
Otherwise you have 3,000 people
Right.
that are going to be saying, well, no, I'm organizing
On their club.
a
Yeah.
club.
Mark, I would
Wait.
just, I would just suggest it get very well clarified from you to the teachers on that issue.
Under what circumstances?
So-
Yeah.
So it has to be academic in nature for someone to be working on their phone. I guess my question would be, I don't know whether or not it would be accessible via our network anyway, unless the student was on cell service. So I don't know whether or not, Mr. Thorne, do we have the accessibility to go ahead and get on those social media sites using the Wi-Fi?
Depends what the social media sites are,
Okay.
first of all. But there is a guest network that can be attached to.
Okay.
For sure.
Got it. I would like to go ahead and maybe work with the teachers and Mr. Boyd to try to get some clarifying language behind that.
Yeah. So in essence, because Mr. Melendez, you did want to know what the rest of the board.
Yeah, if they can start
I
first.
Yeah, I do not think that we need to change this policy at the moment. Although, really well done, and you're thinking about, what are the different options here. I think that we need to keep it as it is, especially since this was just implemented. I don't think the rest of the board has anything different than what I just said, so,
I concur with how it works.
1 second, please. And I know that you had your light up before I took it out, so then I'll recognize you and then Mr. Arguello.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'll make one more point about that cell phone policy, and then I'll talk about another policy. There's another policy I want to.
Mr. Arguello has a point about the cell phone policy after you.
Okay.
Do you want me to go first? Sure.
I'll talk about the cell phone policy and then let him speak, and then I'll switch over, because I have another
Right,
issue on
right.
another policy that's not that. One thing that I am willing to support, but I'll support the general direction of the board, is maybe even some language that says the discretion of the principal, and in that way, if it's at lunchtime, if they got students that they feel that, sometimes you want to use it as a reward. Let's say students are doing well and they've met the standard that they expect from their students. I hate the carpet blanche everybody at the same exact time. So let's say a certain school is doing the right thing, they've had a low number of incidents. Maybe the principal says, hey, this week, I'm gonna make an exception during lunch and only for the lunch period and as a reward to the students. So I don't want to hamstring them too much. When the students do care about it, sometimes we can punish them, but then sometimes we can use it as an incentive. So I would be in support of making an exception that at the discretion of the principal to allow for the lunch period to use the devices.
I have no appetite for that, just for the record. I'm not sure if anybody else does. Did you want to address that before, Mr. Arguello?
No.
Okay, Mr. Arguello, thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that because that's exactly what we should not do, I think, in my opinion. Number one, you would be circumventing the policy, then that's what we have now is any principal right now could make that rule, on her campus. If they haven't, this is basically, I hate to undermine our superintendent doing what he believes is right by questioning him already before it even hits the ground. Number one. Number two, I'm glad that you mentioned it because there's something called judgment, right? We all have judgment. Use your best judgment. If the rule does not apply to your situation, use your best judgment. I trust every principal in our district to use their best judgment, right? Every person that is on payroll to use their best judgment. if we're really preparing these young adults for the future, we should be teaching them judgment. So wherever, if there's some loophole, if there's some gap, if there's something, then allow people to use their best judgment instead of policying them to death. And I think that's one of the things that we had just a few months ago, was that everything was decided down to the very floor, all the way up as far as you can see up into the sky. So it's just, I think it's good, we have a policy, let's let the policy ride, and then wherever there's a gap, allow our professionals to use their best judgment. I mean, I hope that that's okay, Mr. Superintendent.
Perfect, so it seems that at least most of the board is okay with the rule as submitted. We'll move on to your next question, Mr. Melendez.
Yes, another item is 8.43, because when I look at the modifications, usually they're like a strike of a paragraph. Here it's an elaborate, mentioning, it even has a table, elementary schools, the number of maximum school days of fundraisers. What was the impetus behind this? Because it sounds like it's changing a lot of things with their reasonings for fundraisers competing with non-vendors. I mean, what was because it looks like there's a lot of changes going on.
The key with that rules changes are to make it consistent with the wellness program changes, which are what run the food service program, school nutrition services, and meet all the federal regulations.
If you don't mind me interject, Madam Chair, it's to comply with federal regulations. So in order for us to continue to receive the reimbursements that we receive from the Food and Nutrition Services Division, USDA and the state of Florida require it.
So you'd like direction in the form of voting for these rules as submitted? For
Yes,
all
ma'am.
those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is there a motion?
I will make a motion.
Okay.
Thank you. Motion by me, second by Board Member Cahoon. For all those in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign?
Aye.
Okay, 4-1. Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Boyd. We'll continue on with our regularly scheduled board meeting, and I will start with agenda modifications. I'll start with Dr. Shanoff.
Yeah, so, Madam Chair, I'd like to go ahead and pull 1701 and 1702. We're going to go ahead and hold that for a later time.
Thank you. Board Member Melendez.
9.01, that's it.
Thank you. Board Member Arguello.
13.02, 14.01.
Thank you. Vice Chair.
11.05.
Thank you. Board Member Cahoon.
9.01.
Thank you. We'll begin with the consent agenda and moving on to 9.01.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion to approve by Vice Chair and a second by Board Member Melendez. But we have comments.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Julius?
No, that was an old comment.
That was a what?
That was one of the ones you just.
9.01.
Oh, I thought we're voting on the consent agenda first.
Oh, okay.
I thought we vote on the consent agenda as items.
Sure.
Go over
Vote
each
on the
other.
consent, do we approve of the agenda, complete agenda as submitted?
Yeah.
That's a motion.
Okay, motion by Vice Chair, second by Melendez. For those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we'll move on to 9.01. Melendez, you will go first with your comment, and then Cahoon.
Yeah, and this is actually a positive comment, and Ms. Cahoon may have the same item. I like the idea of having internships with our local governments. I want to see if we can propagate that across the board. If we can try to see if we can include like Toho Water Authority, maybe we can do some internships with them, the city of Kissimmee. The fact that we have government entities that have professional services. We talk about our CTE. We just promoted a gentleman to the coordinator position. How neat would that be to help the other government entities align with us? Because I know like when I'm a small business owner myself, and sometimes you do an internship, it's a little bit difficult because you got a small staff, and the ability to teach an intern and get your work done at the same time is a little bit more challenging. But the government agencies, the city of Kissimmee, they have a little bit more staff, a little bit more structure, a little better organization. I just want to say that I love this item, but I want to see us make a concerted effort to be proactive in engaging all the government agencies that are local and having some kind of relationship with our students and their internships.
Thank you, Mr. Melendez. Board Member Cahoon.
Mine was along the similar lines. I just want to thank the city of St. Cloud, along with all the other partners we have in the community, governmental or private sector, that offer these opportunities to our students. It takes a village, and this program right here is one example of it. So I just wanted to say thank you, and with that, motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Board Member Cahoon, second by Board Member Melendez. Board of those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? Thank you. Moving along, under also consent agenda, we have item 11.05, pulled by Vice Chair Booth.
Along those lines, thank you, Madam Chair. Along those lines, we just did a presentation for our Business Partners of the Year. These are items that are typically in our agendas, most meetings, and to skip over that, I think the community needs to look through these and just thank these local businesses that come out. They partner with many of our schools, whether it's open house nights, things like that. These are our community partners that are here in our county that give back to our communities, whether it's through volunteering or through partnership. And I encourage folks to get engaged with the schools, whether it is through the OASIS program for volunteering or just partnering up with your neighborhood school, because our schools need volunteers. So I just wanted to say that. And with that, I motion to approve.
Motion to approve item 11.05 by Vice Chair Booth, second by Board Member Cahoon. Board of those in favor? Aye.
Madam
Opposed, like
Chair,
sign?
could I suggest one thing on that item to follow up?
Yes.
I saw this happen in another district. There's a ton of people in this community that donated. A letter signed by the board members and the superintendent thanking their CEO builds an even bigger relationship.
I feel like we already do that.
I've never seen a letter signed
Do we
by
do
the whole
that?
board.
Yes.
By the whole
I'll
board?
check the signature.
Uh-uh.
Let me check the signature on it.
Yeah, I think it's because
We do it and it's their confirmation of their donation for tax purposes. But let me check and see who signs it.
Yeah, signed by the board and
Yeah, you don't- That's different. Confirming that for taxes, it's a business vote. Thanking them is a whole different feel to a chief
So what is the
executive.
letter signed?
Tanya has a copy of it she can provide.
Yeah, she'll provide a copy. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Okay. Thank you, board. We'll move on to regular agenda and item 13. Well, we have to approve this one by one because we have an item pulled. So do we have a motion for 13.01?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Vice Chair Booth, second by Board Member Melendez. Board of those in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign? Thank you. We'll move on to 13.02, pulled by Board Member Arguello.
Yeah, I just wanted to wish the chorus kids from Toho Godspeed on your trip to Carnegie Hall. So have fun, enjoy yourselves, be safe, don't get in trouble, and mess around and find out, like we discussed earlier. So with that, I'll motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion for 13.02 by Board Member Arguello, second by Board Member Melendez. Board of those in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign? Thank you. We'll move on to 13.03.
Motion approved.
Second. Motion by Mr. Melendez, second by Board Member Cahoon. Board of those in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign?
Aye.
Okay. 4-1. Thank you. We will move on to item 14.01. Mr. Arguello.
Yeah, we didn't get this chance, some of the other things that we had discussed earlier kind of took over. But I was wondering if this is absolutely necessary to have this contract. It seems like under the circumstances where we would need the service, would be a good time to find one. It would also be a good idea, I guess, to have that relationship in place. You don't think that this is preliminary?
Mr. Thorne, do you want to come up and speak to this? Sure. Because this has to do with the conservation of our physical records, I think is where this is. So this would be something that.
Yes, sir. It's for the records warehouse that we have in Admin 2000. So if there is a natural disaster, specifically a flood, this company is on call to come in and help us restore and recover the records. Because we have a lot of records. It's boxes of records, physical paper records that are stored in there. They're currently protected with a halon system or something like it in case of a fire, but in case of a flood,
there is really no protection. So they have methodologies, this company, to come in, freeze dry the papers, and then recover them in case we need them.
I mean, wouldn't it be better, and this is kind of like one of the reasons they brought this up, wouldn't it be better to mitigate the chance of the disaster, like a flood, maybe put some raised or whatever, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it just,
So-
like, we're gonna spend, it says it could be more than $50,000. The idea of spending more than $50,000 to retrieve paper records that are gonna be damaged in a flood seems like a tremendous waste of money, as opposed to $50,000 to mitigate a potential loss. If we put them 4 feet off the ground, for example, we may not have to worry.
A lot of them are raised, a lot of them are not. So the chance of a disaster is low, but I felt we needed to have someone on call just in case
Here's
something
the-
were to happen.
Yeah, water intrusion doesn't necessarily have to come from underneath. It could come from a torn-off roof, and then it just comes from the top. So, you know, we could go ahead, we could put 13 feet up, and we would still get hit.
And that's what would happen if we did raise them.
And I think that, I think that this is all about just ensuring that we can get to those records and that we don't end up being the ones, by the way, if it is the middle of a hurricane, the idea of trying to get a restoration company to go ahead and jump on this, they'll say, go ahead, take a number, and, now serving number 1, and we're sitting at number, 150.
And these are records that by statute we're required
We are
to maintain.
required to maintain.
Yes.
In hardcore form, that's the problem.
They're not able to be digitized?
Some you have.
Some of them can, and we are in process of doing that, but
You have
these,
some you can't.
right, these have to be stored anywhere from 1 to 10 years.
God forbid we lose those minutes.
So we're doing our due diligence and trying to be proactive just in case something happens. And like Dr. Shanoff said, we don't want to be number 100 in the line. We want to be number 1.
Okay.
Right,
Motion
to
to
be
approve.
there.
Second.
Thank you.
We do have a comment, but I will entertain the motion. I have a motion by Board Member Arguello and a second by Board Member Cahoon with a comment by Board Member Melendez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'm in support of this as well, because I had spoke to you earlier, Mr. Thorne. And the other component of this is, we're just securing them. We're not prepaying them. So if a disaster never happens, we never expend the funds. This is the definition of insurance in a way. It's like, just in case this happens, we have the ability to execute the contract right away, so I'm in favor.
We ensured there was no upfront cost for
Right,
this.
no, it's a no-cost plan
Could we-
for now, till you have to use it.
Could we add to the contract if there was a disaster, they're going to prioritize?
Yeah, we're number 1.
We do get preferential treatment, so currently, which is the good part of having a contract in place.
They're contractually obligated to do the work when we call them.
Yeah, but then they'll say an act of God intervened in the disaster.
Well, that's-
And you're
That's the whole
number
point of having
95.
this.
That's why.
That negates the contract.
Okay, Mr. Arguello, and
Yeah,
then we'll
just
go.
really quickly, so
Yes, sir.
my issue is that we're picking somebody without the need right now, without going through the procurement system. If this had gone through the procurement system, then all of a sudden.
We did go through the procurement system. We did an RFP and everything. These were the only respondents.
Okay, gotcha.
So,
All right.
Thank you. We have a motion and a
Thank you.
second. Board, all those in favor? Aye. Pose like sign. Mr. Shanoff, or Dr. Shanoff, we'll go back to that informational item that you wanted to
Yeah,
move
12,
on.
thank you.
Can we do it
Okay.
after right before public comment?
Whatever your pleasure is.
Because I think that we're ready to finish this. Do I have a motion for 1504?
Motion approved.
Second. I have a motion by Board Member Melendez and a second by Vice Chair Booth. Board, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign? Thank you. And Dr. Shanoff, your informational
So
item.
very quickly, 12.02, I just want to provide a brief update to the board. Only because we did approve prior the move for the Academere Champions Gate to move to another location. There was a circumstance that actually required them to now find a temporary location outside of the county. So they were able to secure a location, a school location, in Polk County. They went through all of the appropriate permissions. We were in contact with the DOE. The Office of Safe Schools was satisfied with everything that they brought forward for the change. I want to give Dr. Clayton and Dr. Penaloza a lot of credit because they were overly cautious with this. And given the fact, and board, I want to ask for forgiveness now. I went ahead and I went about doing this because we had to go ahead and get school started. So we didn't have a meeting time. So in the...
Mark, let me point out, I advised him legally. It was within his authority to act in the emergency. I spoke with DOE and said, if DOE is signing off on it, we're not going to have these kids completely disrupted. So he was advised legally he could do what he needed to do.
Thank you, Frank. I wasn't going to bring you in, but thank you. We did communicate with, we got a letter of support from the superintendent in Polk County. We got a letter of support from the sheriff's office in Polk County. Everybody was on board. This will be their temporary location. It'll be at Bridge Prep in Polk County. And they do still anticipate coming back in October.
Thank you, board. Any questions? Thank you. We'll move on to public comments. Thank you for being patient. We'll start with Nelly Hernandez.
Good evening, everyone. God bless you tonight. I am Z. Nelly Hernandez, 2929 Moonstone Bend, Kissimmee. I want to share King David's last words found in 2 Samuel 23, 1-4. And it's more of a prayer for me. It says, Lord, as you told King David, when one rules justly over men, ruling in the fear of God, he dawns on them like the morning light, like the sun shining forth on a cloudless morning, like rain that makes grass to sprout from the earth. I ask you, Lord, that our local government leaders, school administration, and school board members would lead like King David did. Amen. I also want to clarify for anyone here tonight or watching online that none of us is looking to ban books. Ban books. Some people were misled into believing that lie. We have been clear from the beginning, since we started. We do not want books in the schools' libraries that add no educational value to the students, but promote pornography, sexual immorality, and violence. These books are not being banned. They are in stores for any parent wanting to buy them. They should not be provided by the schools as taxpayer funded, right? I am sorry if anyone was misled on this issue. We do have more in common than you think. Thank you for the new policy regarding the cell phones. Although, before the students, before they spoke, I already knew they were mad. The communities that I do outreaches to, they already started hitting me with all of it. But it was a necessary change. And I'm taking the time to explain to them why. Many of them are telling me they're just bored. Excuse me. You guys did the right thing, and they're smart. They would know. Now you guys must earn the confidence and trust of the parents in the community so they can be a little more at ease, since many will no longer be able to reach their kids at will. It's a security thing for many parents. See me if you want a little more clarification about what I mean about that. It's more than just the students, it's also the parents. And I want to thank you for the progress you are making in the right direction. We continue to encourage you to do your very best to bring back moral values and decency to the public schools for the sake of this young generation, which is our future, and they're a treasure worth fighting for. God bless you and thank you.
Thank you. And next we'll have a comment by Dennis Dodd. Dennis. Once, twice. Thank you. Next, we'll have a comment by Bryant Bennett.
Brian Bennett, 1125 Albany Avenue in St. Cloud. Dr. Shanoff and Madam Chairman, I am the father of a 14-year-old mentally handicapped son. He has seizures, multiple a day, while in the classroom. He was originally zoned to go to Harmony High School, and we were notified less than a week before school that they didn't have any certified ESE teachers in the classroom. The director of ESE asked us to choice him over to St. Cloud, where we found that they also didn't have any certified ESE teachers in the entire school. And now we've got him moved up to Toho so that the school can comply with his IEP. In doing that, we don't have any transportation, we don't have a transition plan for him, the school wasn't prepared, and they still don't have a full-time aide to service his needs. He needs somebody full-time that cares for him while he's at school, so that he's not a danger to himself. My question to the board, how many of our schools don't have certified ESE teachers in the classroom? Because they all should. If we have to pull funding away from administrative roles and take that salary position and move it over to attract and retain additional ESE teachers, that's something that the school district should be doing, because these are the most vulnerable and the students in our community and in our schools that can't speak for themselves. For these students, mine included, and the rest of them that are in the 11-student classroom, the 11-student self-contained pod at Toho, and the rest of the schools that don't have any certified teachers, you guys are failing them. I would love to see the plan on what you guys are going to do and what you're going to do about it in order to get these students the education that they deserve. On the issue of cell phones, thank you very much. I have a 16-year-old that is over at Harmony High School. He has made more friends in the last week than he made in the last 2 years of his high school experience. So while we have some very outgoing, popular students, for those students that are introverts, this is absolutely the right move for them as well. So thank you to the board. Thank you, Dr. Shanoff, for the cell phone policy and retaining that.
Thank you. Dr. Shanoff,
Yeah.
I have his I was going
You
to
have
ask
his-
you
you
to,
have his
I have his
contact.
email here, if you
I'll be in
can
touch.
also
Thank
keep us all,
Yeah.
in the loop with that as
Yeah.
well. Do you need this?
I would love it, yes, please.
Thank you. David Eckholt?
Right, I just noticed that the time clock is now behind me.
I'll keep you straight.
All right. David Eckholt, I am a father of, my daughter is a senior at Harmony. I have 3 sons that have also graduated from Harmony, a son at Harmony Middle. I want to tell you how much I support this new cell phone policy. And I'll tell you why. I'm so excited to see the curriculum being developed to utilize this time during lunch to increase the learning of our children. I'm excited to see the investment in curriculum and curriculum developers. I'm excited to see the teachers giving their time to teaching during lunch and volunteering that time. I think that'll be amazing. I'm also interested to see how we can use the 5-minute passing period for instructional purposes. I'm imagining things like playing Schoolhouse Rock from my childhood. I'm a Bill, whatever that song goes, that can make educational use of that. Seriously, though, I understand the desire to focus students during instructional time. But personally, and as a father, and as I've heard other parents, allowing cell phone use during lunchtime, during passing periods, provides them an opportunity to be able to communicate with my wife and I, with coaches, with other teachers, at a time that isn't disrupting school instructional activities. I respect the gentleman that shared benefits he and his family have seen from the policy. I'll just share that as this has gone into effect, I haven't heard a single parent respond favorably. Mostly it's been a frustration of how am I going to communicate with my student now. I don't think that our offices are staffed to respond to the level of communication that our parents have come to expect. I view cell phones as having huge educational value. I can't imagine how many times that my kids have learned something on the fly because they had a phone in their hand. Because rather than just thinking about something or somebody told them something that they heard on the news that I've said, well, is that true or are they not? And they're like, well, I don't know. Well, look it up. So I just I didn't realize that I was going to be on the agenda after the vote had already been taken. But certainly, if we say there's no phones allowed during lunch, certainly there will be no phone use during lunch, and we won't have the opportunity to see what's going on with that. But just because they're not there doesn't mean we're seeing that they're not a problem or that they can be used appropriately. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you so much. The next person to speak is Mark Cavell. Mark?
Hi, thank you. Last year, I started hearing more reports of the impending crisis that we are all around us here in Osceola County regarding the fentanyl overdoses, the fentanyl use, and the fact that it's, of course, in our backyard now. So what I did last year during Halloween, it might have been a day or two before, I called my child's school and to see if I actually called I was then directed to call the then past superintendent's office. I talked to a assistant, or what do they call it, deputy, to the superintendent, a woman, but her name's not important. But at least in my discussion, she said that my concern was, do the teachers, or had the teachers been informed or educated on the possible fentanyl-laced candy, because it was Halloween. And so in our good discussion, she said no, they didn't have anything in place. So with that, she was going to pass it along, I believe, to then the superintendent. I held my breath for the couple days there, and that not to hear, and not just for my student, I'm speaking for everyone here in the district, other kids, grade school, middle school, high school, and anywhere in Florida, of course, as we would have to, but as a humanitarian. But what happened was, it seems to be the old adage, it's not a matter of if, it's when. When this will happen, it's going to somehow get into our schools, be it this year, next year, who knows when. There's too much out there. We know the recent, last year in Volusia County, 1.5 million doses. That's huge. And of course, from recent arrests that have been made, everything being done by the Sheriff's Department here, thank them, and Osceola County for the traffickers who were arrested. But of course, we know too that they are right back out there outside our doors in our communities. They and their compadres and whoever else might be involved in trafficking, unfortunately. So my concern is why, and aren't they informed? So what I did this year, I figured if something has changed, I went to orientation. I asked a few teachers. Names aren't important, but I did ask them randomly, if they can identify fentanyl-laced candy and the danger, and they said no. May I just have a few more seconds? This is kind of important.
I
This
can't
isn't-
because I have to be fair to everybody, but
Okay.
I would welcome an email if you wanted to
Okay.
continue discussion.
But it's just something I'm just asking the board, the district, to please do that before something does happen. God help us if it does. It'd be horrific for the students. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Mr. Albert Mendoza?
I only come up here and talk about like my child. Yeah. My child. So, there's a thing that's going on because school's starting up. So now everything is like these contracts. I'm getting these contracts every day of I gotta sign this for this class. I gotta sign this for this class. Where's the contract of like everybody in this room? How come I don't get contracts of y'all? Of what y'all providing? What y'all doing? What's your promises? I gotta like sign a contract that my daughter gotta like pay attention. She gotta like follow rules. Where's the contract of the people in this room? You know? And to just piggyback on these young children, these young people that are growing up in your school district. Such a beautiful thing to see. I love seeing these children come up here and talk about what they believe in. Y'all don't ever not stop talking about what you believe in. Gentleman with the suit on, looking fresh up here, yo. You spoke eloquently about what you were talking about. You're passionate. Don't ever let nobody, don't let these old people up here tell you about what y'all need to do. Because y'all gonna be the people up here one day. And it makes me, I feel really happy that I'm around a generation. Because, you know, you grow up around people and they're like, yo, I don't want to listen to rock and roll. You know, hip-hop music is whack. This is whack. You know, we growing up in the new age. You gotta grow. You gotta grow. You gotta figure it out. It's not them. They're the ones growing in it. They're the ones that got phones in their pockets. They're the ones that are like living it. It's us. We have to be the adults around here. And not be like old people. Don't be like your parents. Be like, I don't want to listen to this music. You know, this is crazy stuff. You know, radio, TV, you know. But I got 38 seconds. All right. The main thing is always my children. I think there should be a social contract between both ways. I think it should be given between the child that's in school. If I got to sign a contract for my child, I think the principal should be giving a contract out to the parent. What you gonna be teaching my children? You know, I think it's a fair thing. All right, thank you.
Don Boyer?
I am Don Boyer. I own Osceola Youth Baseball. I coach USA Elite Scout Team. I'm Director of Player Development. I'm also the National High School Director for Angels Baseball. I'm concerned that we do not have a middle school baseball program for our boys' baseball. We have a lot of other programs which should be there, and I'm not saying to take those away. Dr. Shanoff spoke with me today. He took about 20 minutes of his busy day, and you know, he's seen my point. He was sympathetic to it. I didn't expect that, and I'm glad he's our new superintendent now. Again, I've had Scott Noble who's taught my kids. Now they're 24 years old, deputy sheriffs, studying to be educators like yourselves. I've never been here and spoke in front of you people before, but I'm very impressed with the high level of intelligence that you have, having doctrines and master degrees and sitting here in this type of powerful positions that you're at. unlike myself, who only has a high school education. But I think it's very important that we don't discriminate and have programs that exclude boys as far as boys baseball. I think we need a boys baseball program of some type. I know it's not going to happen overnight, but it does need to happen within the next year. I was told by the athletic director, Ryan Adams, several years ago when my sons, that are 24 and 22 now, it will never happen in your lifetime, Mr. Boyer, and it will never happen in your grandchildren's lifetime that we have boys baseball in middle school. A good friend of mine, Gary Sheffield, and Daryl Strawberry, who both coach with me in the USA Baseball program, have kids in Tampa Jesuit where they do have middle school baseball programs, where they do develop children to go for high school baseball. And I think it's just as important that we have that program in place, just like we prepare our children in middle school to be prepared for the academics in high school. I don't really know the process to getting this going. My email is osceolayouthbaseball@yahoo.com. Any suggestions that we can get to get it on the agenda for you guys to vote on it to get it going? I own a couple different businesses. I'm in the position where I can volunteer my time. You don't have to pay somebody. You don't have to take some money and do something. I'll volunteer my time to do some type of feeder program. To do some type of feeder program. You have my email.
Yep, it's on here and it's recorded for the record as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, while you're doing that, could I say one thing?
Yeah, what is the process?
Madam Chair, while you're doing that, could I say one thing to the superintendent?
Sure.
Mark, if you decide you want to go that route for boys and girls, I'll help you find sponsors for those teams, underwrite those things. And I'd just like to say, Mr. Boyer, I have a lot of degrees in education. I will tell you that I think your education and experience is far more valuable than mine in terms of impacting young people, and I thank you for that.
I appreciate that.
I'll agree with that, Mr. Boyer.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate you saying that, because it really, honestly, all boils down to the children that's going to be in your place one day. And I'm just so honored you let me have my 3 minutes.
Thank you so much. The next person to speak will be Brett.
Don't even bother with me.
I know, I'm sorry. You knew it. You knew it.
No, I got it.
Oh, thank you for being graceful and not embarrassing. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Brent Erdini-Naya. I'm a senior from Neo City Academy. Good people of the school board, these first few days have set a foundation for the new school year, and it is built upon tedium. Nothing in the revised changes can or will support anybody. The changes to the cell phone policy makes both teachers and students walk a tightrope for an issue that should have stayed within the classroom. Many faculty members and students I have interviewed from different schools hold a similar sentiment. This ban ignores devices used for schoolwork, asked by the teacher, and personal permitted classes and emergencies. Now, I want to get that over quickly. The recent rulings on controversial topics is just baffling. The existence and real effects of things like slavery and LGBT culture are non-negotiable. And the fact that we are taking history lessons from a man who thinks that slavery was a good thing, saying that, and I quote, develop skills in which some instances could be applied for their personal benefit, end quote, as said by Ron DeSantis during an NBC interview earlier this month. During an interview with one teacher, I caught them in the middle of removing vital course information, being poems from escaped slaves, because they were deemed too controversial by a man without a teaching degree. Our teachers need to be teachers, not mouthpieces for politicians. Finally, we have the nickname ruling. Yet another attack on trans students that forbids teachers from calling a student anything other than their birth name. But because I know a lot of people here don't actually care about that, let's talk about an example from a cis white woman who uses a nickname, yet the teachers to use the easier name, which is an ethnic name that is very difficult for a lot of people to pronounce, she needs to get a form filled out by her parents that is then sent to Tallahassee and sent back. No one I have spoken to in this period has ever finished this process yet, and it makes school less of a safe space for those students who don't have supportive parents. One final mention is regards to the girl. The truth is that girl isn't a child. She is a 22-year-old college student, and every rule I have lined out today applies to that. An adult who can legally drink. Now, many times while I was preparing for this meeting, I was told that these are laws, and the school board doesn't have much power over it now, and I'm wasting my time. But to me, that's just incredibly sad way to look at it. Not a single person as this board can have the power to truly change how our schools work. And if you think the school board of this county has no power, then what does that mean for us students and the schooling in general? Thank you for your time.
Thank you all for your public comments. We will move on to new business. We have a discussion on standing up a school district law enforcement agency. Was that Mr. Melendez or Mr. Arguello?
Yeah, so initially this was a request to discuss because we were having the workshop that we had this morning. But a couple meetings ago, we had a contract that came up before the board that was discussing the idea that we may have a guardian in our schools as opposed to a law enforcement. The superintendent quickly that same night, in fact, came up with a great idea. We haven't talked since about that issue, but a great idea to resolve that issue. So I had placed this on the agenda. I think it's worthy of discussion. I mean, there's people behind the dais right now who sent out mailers to the community saying that they believe in SEOs under all circumstances, at all times, for every reason, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But beyond campaign promises, I think that members of the community actually expect for people to deliver on the things that they say. So that's why I wanted to bring up the discussion. This is one way where we could absolutely guarantee that we would have an SRO on every campus, which I think our kids deserve.
Thank you, Mr. Melendez. You have a comment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this point, I had some discussions with Dr. Shanoff too, and we had an SRO task force that discussed this possibility. So for us to be on the dais here, to kind of have this full conversation, I think would be premature. If we wanted to entertain this, then maybe we can reconvene the task force, because what I liked about it was that there was somebody from KPD, somebody from St. Cloud, and just kind of discuss what that would look like. So to me, it's too premature to act on anything right now, because since we had that contract language, I did speak with Mike Steigerwald from the city of Kissimmee, and we're kind of working on a compromise, because it was like, I don't want to go into the full details, but the point is that I do have a commitment from the city of Kissimmee that they're going to make every effort to put an SRO in there, and the law enforcement officer in there, and, the guardian's like an ultimate last, resort. So, to me, but this is interesting, because we did have the sheriff here this afternoon showing his commitment, so it may be premature, is what I'm saying. But if it's not premature and there's something that we want to discuss, then I just think that it's appropriate to maybe reconvene the task force temporarily to kind of study it from all angles. And that way we get a better recommendation rather than just one board member kind of saying this is what we believe.
Thank you so much, Mr. Arguello.
Yeah, if that's the case, then maybe we should realign this committee or this task force with appointees from each board member. And it may be, in fact, I would agree that it is premature to have this conversation. But at what point do you raise it? We've had a law enforcement agency say that even though that they give us their assurances, we're going to do everything that we can. But the day that they don't is a day that they are in contradiction with our board policy, which is to have an SRO at every school. And as far as I know, every school board member here has said that they believe to have an SRO at every school all of the time. So we can say something when we're campaigning. It's a whole other thing to live up to that. So what I'm saying is maybe we should discuss the idea of having a law enforcement agency of the district or not, but actually discussing the fact, number one, that we're right now in violation of our policy the moment that we have a SRO not there. But, I mean, we've all made that promise, have we not? I think the two newest school board members have specifically made that promise to their constituents. Do they not want to live up to having an SRO on schools at all times? Or are they reneging on that promise? So it's worthy of the discussion.
Thank you. Board Member Cahill?
Dr. Shanoff, can you clarify school board policy related to school resource officer or what verbiage it is? Because that was something that concerned me after our last meeting in regards to if we were violating our policy.
So board policy actually says that it is a safe school officer. It doesn't necessarily say law enforcement officer. I think that, I think though, there is, I think it's certainly left to interpretation sometimes, that a safe school officer to one may mean law enforcement officer, to another it may mean a law enforcement officer or anybody that meets the criteria under the Guardian program. So at this point, all the language says is safe school officer. And so if that language, if it's the board's desire to tighten that language, we can certainly tighten that language. If it's the board's desire to workshop that policy and potentially look at it for the next round of rulemaking, you know, that would be direction that I would need to take from the board. But at this point, the actual verbiage in the policy says safe school officer.
That's the way it is in the statute as well. So I think that's the reason why we have safe school officers specifically on there. Mr. Melendez and then Mr. Arguello and then.
Yeah, I like to separate the two things, and I do agree with Dr. Shanoff, revising that language in the policy, because that wasn't the original language that we wrote, because I was one that wrote it. So I knew that some language has changed, because I guess during school rules, we have some minor modifications that change words, and so it kind of, the way it was written, it kind of misconstrues the intent. So I would like to be able to have the ability to make it less ambiguous and be more direct. So I don't want to keep talking forever, but the point is, I do want to separate the idea of a police force with the idea of modifying our school board policy. Because when we got together at the SRO task force and we proposed the new amendments to school board rules, the language that I read wasn't the language that we originally passed. So, I mean, again, I'm not here to point fingers at anybody, but I do believe that it's a good time for the board to kind of relook at that language and make it very clear what a safe school officer is.
Thank you. Mr. Arguello?
Yeah, aside from what was written in the policy and what was approved, we also have a school board meeting where there's a recording where we had that conversation and discussion, and we all had a very long conversation about whether or not our policy was to have a law enforcement officer on campus. So I would tell the community, go back to that video, go back to that school board meeting, because people can't retract what's on video, and you'll hear 5 school board members commit strongly to having a law enforcement officer at every single school. So why are we now saying, oh, well, you know, what is that D I'd, is that T crossed or whatever? No, we literally had a conversation on this dais where everyone made a very strong commitment. Vice Chair Booth, she said in her campaign flyers just 5 months ago, it was full of school resource officer in every school, in fact, just very recently. So are we going to play around, or are we going to actually enforce the fact that we want school resource officers in every school? That young gentleman right there came up and said, oh, well, we can't make our own rules. This is one rule where we can absolutely make. We can come here right now, we can say, we're going to make a rule right now where we're only going to have law enforcement officers protecting each of our schools. We could do that right now. So are school board members going to live up to the promises that they gave to the community, or are they not? That's the question at hand. So it's on the agenda. You guys have seen it. What I'm willing to do is let's go ahead and workshop it. Let's go ahead and bring that task force. Let's go ahead and appoint members to it. Let's go through the process. But let's not break our promises so bold-facedly to the community that we have made many, 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 many times over.
Okay, Vice Chair Booth, I will recognize you in a second. I just want to be clear that it seems like the ask here has nothing to do with school resource officers, which we do have in our schools, and I'm pretty confident that that is what every board member wants. The question at hand in item 18.01 is whether or not you would like to discuss raising a law enforcement agency within the school district, which for the record, I am absolutely against. We are in the business of education, which is why we partner with our law enforcement agencies to provide that service. So I just wanted to put that out for the record. And Vice Chair?
And to go along with your point, Madam Chair, I would just want to say thank you to the Osceola County Sheriff's Department, to the City of Kissimmee Police Department, and to the City of St. Cloud Police Department for all of your efforts. Every officer, we support you. I support you. I am very 100% behind having safe schools in our school and an SRO in our school. Law enforcement officers, it is a very difficult job. I know just as teachers, we are trying to recruit officers. It is tough to be an officer in our community, and I am 100% behind you. Thank you for our partnerships, and I look to continue that with the Osceola County School District.
Okay, so the question at hand is whether or not we want to have a discussion, probably outside of this meeting, about raising a law enforcement agency within the school. I've already said I'm not interested in having that conversation. Is anyone else besides Mr. Arguello interested in having a conversation about having our own police force? No?
I'm more interested in revising the policy.
That's
right
not
now.
the question.
Okay, I'm not
I have
interested in having
I have
that
four
discussion.
people who are not interested in that, which means that, thank you for bringing up this conversation, but I think this is where we will leave the conversation. And with that, do we have any further comments? Yes.
Sorry. I put a calendar.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Revised calendar. There was a workshop that Ms. Graber and Dr. Shanoff wanted to add on the 19th regarding bond financing. So if you guys approve it, then I'll get that sent out tomorrow.
Okay, so the question is, do we want to have a workshop on September 19th at 4 p.m.
Correct.
for bond financing board?
Yes.
Yes? Yes? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, everyone. Meeting adjourned.